Okay, everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino. It is Wednesday, April 20th, 2022. This is my pre-market report. It's just going to be lovely, people. I don't even know where to start. How about this? Let's look over at the market real quick. Stock futures, higher across the board, even after yesterday's rally. Okay, I don't think that's any surprise to you. Let's look over at the debt market. The 10-year yield, looking pretty nice here. 2.89, kind of stabilizing. We are going higher, but this is looking good for the market, at least for today. What else is going on? The dollar is in a nosedive this morning. So what do we got? We got a weaker dollar. Market loves that. We got a stable 10-year yield. Market loves that. Crude oil catching a bid. Market loves that too. Oh, astonishing. So the setup for the market this morning is pretty nice, actually. Let's look at a few other assets. We got gold and silver falling under pressure. We got cryptocurrencies doing very well. Bitcoin back over 42,000. That's where we sit right now with regard to the market. But let us look over at some economic news here. As you can probably surmise, it's terrible. Yes, mortgage demand literally died. It has literally died, falling by 50% year over year. That's just about 50%. That's pretty astonishing here. Now, we also heard from another freak, a freak from the Federal Reserve. Now, this is Fed President Bostic. He said that the Federal Reserve, I'm reading this, needs to exercise caution with regard to the pace at which it is going to raise rates. Well, the market seems to like that. Look, we'll understand how this works. Being that the stock market is a derivative of the debt market, if the Federal Reserve were to, which we know they're not going to, and it won't matter anyway, get overly aggressive with the pace at which they're going to raise rates, well, it would hit the market. That would make a lot of people unhappy, especially the 1% and 2%ers who could not possibly be doing better in this environment. So it was the same story, people. You all know that. Despite the rhetoric, the talk, the bullshit, the dog shit, the cat shit, wealth always moves right up to the 1% and 2%ers getting sucked right out of everyone else. Now this next piece of information is kind of interesting as well. What do we know? We are living in an environment where we move from crisis to crisis to crisis. Every one of these things are engineered. Okay. What are they doing with each and every one of these crises, whatever? Well, I'll tell you what they're doing. They're prolonging them solely for the reason to throw more cash at them. I've explained this to you for a while now, okay? Every crisis must be prolonged so it can be utilized and used as a mechanism to borrow more cash from the future. You all know that. Keep that in mind. So this is what Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, just said, okay? That the world energy crisis, clearly we are in one, needs to fund this energy crisis to the tune of at least initially a $1.3 trillion capital injection. Oh my, really? So let's see. We have an energy crisis, duh, engineered, of course, along with every other crisis. And now we're getting calls from a mega bank that we need to fund it. We need to throw cash at it to the tune of at least, just to start, $1.3 trillion. Oh, let me explain this to you in case you don't know. That's just the first installment. Quite obviously, trillions of dollars are going to be thrown at every single crisis that they want us all to deal with. I can only imagine what they're going to do with the food shortages, the food crisis. Look, it's pretty evident to me that we have an economy, global economy, that is going to require trillions of dollars to be created magically out of thin air, and then puppet governments are going to be called upon by the real government, which is the central banks, to throw trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars at it. And where's it coming from? Well, you. It's getting sucked straight out of you. Well, mostly the middle class. Because, see, the people in the upper rung here, they know exactly how to deal with this kind of a situation. And it's just going to make them richer, too. Look, the corporate agenda, you know what it is. It's a very simple mechanism. It just, again, this crisis-to-crisis mechanism is making everyone very, very rich at the expense of the middle class. People in the lower rung, they're done already. They've already been made slaves to the system. Whoever's left in the middle class, well, they're enslaving themselves. How do we know that? Well, they continue to borrow beyond their eyeballs. Personal debt, household debt, consumer debt continues to skyrocket. And with the mortgage demand now literally dying, they're going to make themselves into rent slavery as well. They can't buy anything. But our economy is really strong. In fact, our economy is so strong that not only has the World Bank downgraded global growth multiple times, we just heard from the IMF yesterday, same thing. Look, I think you get it. Could you imagine if anyone were held to account for the lies, especially the central banks, the Federal Reserve over here? Inflation is transitory. Don't worry about it. It's going to get better. No, it's not getting it better in any way, shape, or form. You haven't seen anything yet. Inflation is going to get monumentally worse as global debt continues to balloon. And what is that going to do? It's going to push the stock market higher. And the worse the economic news is, the higher the market's going to go. So I really hope you're on the right side of this whole equation. You got to be along the market, people. You should be taking advantage of what's happening, what has been happening over the last several months. It's a setup. Obviously, betting against the debt, becoming your own central bank, cryptocurrencies. I got you covered. If you could understand the dynamics that are in play right now, looking at everything I just talked about today and every other day, it should be very simple for you to understand what you need to do moving forward here. You know, I'll tell you something else. On top of all of this, what have I been telling you for years? Love each other, care about each other, be charitable. How many of you actually embrace that philosophy? I really wonder. Because I'm telling you, we are going to need each other more than ever moving forward. We got to come together. And if we don't, we lose. The people that, want to rule the world here, and this is clearly central banks, and obviously the 1% and 2%ers here, their mechanism is very simple. Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. Keep people separated. Don't allow them to come together. Because there's strength in that, and they hate it. They won't allow it. So they're going to keep you locked up in your house via any mechanism they possibly can. They don't want you socializing. They don't want you out there. So just be ready. Just be ready for it. All right, people, look, so in summary real quick, we got a stock market. It's going to open in about 30 minutes from the time I'm doing this video blog, higher. At least at the time I'm doing this video, futures are higher. Look at the setup. 10-year yield looking real nice. It's going over 3. You know that. But right now we're stable. Dollar weaker. Great. Market loves that. Crude higher. Great. Market loves that too. So the setup is pretty damn good. With regard to everything else, you got it covered. Do you believe for a nanosecond, really? There are people who actually believe what the Federal Reserve is saying, that they're going to slow down asset purchases, maybe even stop them, that they're really eventually going to taper because they tapered nothing. There are people who believe that, and they write to me, Greg, your perspective on the market is totally wrong because the Federal Reserve said they're going to stop buying assets. Really? How about duh? No, absolutely not. You're buying that bullshit? You really believe that? The Federal Reserve is public enemy number 1. And all they do is lie, and they're never held to account. Imagine my shock here, people. Look, I got you covered. You know that. We got each other's backs. This is not Greg Mannarino's thing. This is our thing. So let's do this. Share this video. Get it out there. Please comment. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see you all later.